Okay, now let's talk about Lamarck. And first question here, very easy. So question mark refer to a tendency for organisms to become more complex, moving up in the ladder of progress. So you have all these options. And so the answer, of course, will be Lamarck. And if you remember in the video lectures, we talk about three main ideas. Lamarck had so many key ideas, but I wanted that you remember at least these three. And he when he observed, as he was a curator in a museum, he was able to see so many species of marine animals, and he saw that there was a progression in the complexity of the organisms. So that was an idea of this ladder of progress was an idea of Lamarck. Darwin, if you remember, he has the idea of evolution through natural selection. So it's completely different. So Darwin was not responsible for this. Actually, the ideas of Lamarck inspired Darwin, and the idea of a ladder of progress. It was actually important for Darwin to come with his idea of evolution through natural selection. Um, Now let's answer this question: why is Lamarck considered an influential figure of the field of evolution? And the answer is because he was the first to try to explain how new species evolve. So, if you remember, we just talked about the progression toward great perfection, but before that, I talked about that he was an early evolutionist. He observed that organisms change over time. So, for example, what he did is, if you see the butterflies wings here, you see that they have a small variation. So here you have one eye spot, two eye spots. Here he was able to observe, for example, that these two eye spots have different sizes. He observed that they could be species that have multiple eye spots. There were some that don't have eye spots. There were, and if you continue seeing, there was more and more variation. So he starts thinking, there seems to be gradual changes. The species seems to be changing over time. So he was the first one of the first one who proposed these early ideas of evolution of change that species change over time. Okay, now let's answer this question. Okay, which scientists believe that evolution happened when organisms pass characteristics that they acquire during their lifetime? So here the answer will be Lamarck. So if you remember this idea of the use and the disuse that he proposed, that we discussed and we watched videos about it in the video lecture, he was the one who, like, or at least is acknowledged for that. At that time, it was a common idea that everybody believed that, and even Darwin to some degree had moments that he believed in that, and that he forget about those ideas. But Lamarck is acknowledged who one of the people that believe about acquired traits. That we know that uh, they are not true, but there is still a debate about these acquired traits. Okay, in this question, they are talking about two main ideas, and that one replaced the other one. Yeah, and that this first idea, when supplying the other one, caused the abandonment of the ideas of Lamarck. So the answer here will be that the Mendelian inheritance, the Mendelian genetics, removed the idea of inheritance of acquired traits. Why? Because now we know that use and disuse that is not going to work, at least with the giraffe. It's not going to work. Actually, what is going to work is these Mendelian traits. So C will be the answer, and all the other ones don't make any sense. This paraformism and epigenesis were earlier, so there is no relationship uh, with Lamarck. The idea of use and this natural selection. This one didn't solve the problem. Natural selection didn't solve the problem of the use and disuse. Actually, Darwin debate between both. So this the only one that he was able to solve that problem was the Mendelian inheritance. And if you keep looking at the other ones, you can see that the only one that he was able to solve the problem was the Mendelian inheritance. So remember, so Mendelian genetics supplanted the notion of this inheritance of acquired traits that Lamarck is acknowledged to have.